So it's a good group today. I think we can start with introductions, and then for the EV Readiness team, we will introduce ourselves as we go over each of the slides. But I think right at the top, why don't we start with our speakers from the EV Readiness communities, and then we'll go to those that are interested in the program. So we can start with you, Andy and Hannah.
Hi, everyone. My name is Andy Ferrini. I'm the village manager for Pingree Grove.
Hi, I'm Hannah Temes. I am the administrative intern for Pingree Grove, and we were members of the most previous cohort, so the fourth cohort.
Yeah.
Rob?
Yeah, hi everyone. My name is Rob Savage. I am a planner and management analyst for the city of Rolling Meadows. We were a recipient of gold EV readiness designation in the third cohort, which was wrapped up about this time last year, didn't it? A little earlier, maybe.
Yes, this time last year was August 7th, right? Was that award ceremony that we had?
Yeah,
The big one.
that's right.
And Jacob?
Hello, I'm Jake Sodaro. I'm a planner with the Village of Woodridge. We just recently received the Bronze EV Readiness designation in the fourth cohort in May of this year.
And then, as I said, the EV Readiness team will introduce ourselves as we all speak, but let's go ahead and start with the communities in attendance. So, Emma?
Hi, I'm Emma Field. I'm from the city of St. Charles.
Welcome. Darko?
Hi, Darko Bojan, planner with the Village of Arlington Heights.
Mayor McLeod?
Yeah, Bill McLeod, Hoffman Estates.
Josh?
Hey, I'm Josh Lane. I'm the assistant to the village manager in Mount Prospect.
Welcome. Zach?
Hi, I am Zach Andrews. I am the VMO intern at the Village of Mount Prospect.
Samuel?
Hi, my name is Sam Moran. I'm the intern at the Village of Bartlett, and Sam Hughes. I'm with Bartlett Public Works as well.
Okay. Sam and Sam, good to have you here. Sylvia?
Hi, I'm Sylvia with HR Green, representing for Village of Riverwoods.
Jordan? One more try for Jordan. If not, we'll go to Brad.
Hi, Brad Winnick. I'm not technically from a community. I work, my firm Planning Aging partners with the Mayor's Caucus on aging and community work for the last 5 years. And we're very interested in learning everything I can about the EV Readiness Program. So I'm just a fly on the wall.
Proud to have you on the walls. With that, let's go ahead and get started with the slides, and we will take questions, I think, at the end here. Okay, how's the view? You can see the first slide?
Yes, looks good.
Excellent, thank you. Okay, so we're going to go over the EV Readiness Program and explain how the program works and how you get things done. Well, what you get out of the EV Readiness Program, and then a little touch on big picture, like how EV readiness works regionally to advance clean energy and grid resilience. And then after about 30 minutes, 25 minutes or so of the EV Readiness team, we'll have the EV Ready graduates, EV Ready communities from Rolling Meadows, Pingree Grove, and Woodridge. And again, I'm Edith Macker, Environment Director for the Metropolitan Mayor's Caucus. If you don't know us, we're a not-for-profit regional council of governments with 275 municipalities in the greater Chicago area, and we have a lot of sustainability leadership and work to get things done. So the EV Readiness Program is fundamentally a set of strategic and prioritized tasks towards EV readiness, and then we provide resources and support to accomplish those tasks. We provide recognition as an EV ready community at the bronze, silver, or gold level. And we are rooted in our consensus sustainability plan called the Greenest Region Compact. The Compact, which I think most of you know, but that's a very powerful program, and that 166 communities support the same set of consensus goals. And it is a requirement for enrollment unless you're a community that can, for some reason, or an organization that can't adopt it. But we ask for that commitment because the EV Readiness Program is aligned with these goals that are longstanding, very vetted in the Greenest Region Compact to support efficient transportation that uses resources wisely, to integrate sustainability into transportation policies and programs, and then a specific call out for a safe, clean, and efficient municipal fleet. The EV Readiness Program, our EV Readiness team, spent a very long time in a research phase, dialogue phase, careful study to come up with these categories of EV readiness. And I'll just let you read them. I won't spend much time on it, but the categories are very comprehensive for what a municipality could do for EV readiness. And just so you're not scared off right away, there are not requirements in each of these categories, but we'll go over a little bit more about how those categories work. But we think about everything, and since you'll be the 5th cohort, it works pretty well for the way the categories are supported and sorted and interact. We have added an innovative special projects category in case we miss something. You can still earn points for it. So test us with something innovative. We'd love to be happily surprised. And then I say it's prioritized and sorted. So what we've done in this long list of EV readiness tasks and options, we have decided with input from our advisors in the study that we did, what is really required essentially for EV readiness. And these are that's the most common pathway that EV ready communities enroll in is to achieve bronze. So most of our EV ready communities have earned the bronze, and that's fundamental. So even if you go for a higher level, you need to accomplish all of these tasks in here. And Tim will show you how these tasks are sorted and supported through our very spiffy EV readiness checklist, which is interactive. But for me here, I just wanted to go over the highlights of what you need to do for EV ready bronze. Things are color coded, and you see the little column with the initials in front of it. You'll get familiar with those, but starting out at the top, we look for a commitment, a letter of support that says you're committed to the program, and then also understanding your baseline metrics, which you'll find out how many vehicles you have in the community and a few other metrics, and then you'll measure that over time. Then Martha will talk you through what's the really important and tough part of the work, but really important and fundamental is work on your zoning codes to make sure that it works for what your community needs and is also supportive of investment in EV infrastructure in your community. And key job for municipalities is permitting. So we want to make sure that you have the tools you need to get the responses from developers and a permit that works for both your community and those who want to install EV charging infrastructure. And Tim and Martha have expertise in that. Safety training we provide some great training. Cheryl will talk more about that, but that's an important component that your first responders are ready for EVs. We ask that you look at parking policies and kind of get up to speed with those. The program is supported by ComEd, and they have interest in grid reliability and resilience. And so they're interested in working with you for EV owner registration. We've got some great tools for communicating your work, EV readiness, and EV information to your constituents. And Cheryl's got a great template for an EV ready webpage. And then finally, the market development, the MD, the last task there are related to making sure that you know about grants and resources and share that information with your constituents so that we can see EV adoption and investment in your community. And so that checklist, you probably saw numbers are related to each of them. They're weighted so that the easy tasks you get a couple of points for, the ones that are more involved, you get more points for. But there are 16 fundamental actions that we ask you to do for bronze. Everybody does those same fundamental actions. And then because every community is different, you can then tailor additional actions, or what we call flex points, to reach the 100-point total and earn bronze designation. If you complete bronze, additional actions, which are mostly related to fleet assessments and a little bit more zoning work and safety and training, a few other things, more points, you can earn silver. And then all the bells and whistles, if you're a real leader, as it Rolling Meadows is, you can earn EV Ready Gold, which involves usually in procuring electric vehicles for your fleet and many other tasks. So the way we get through the way you will get through the EV readiness checklist and get those tasks done is in a cohort fashion, and that's now what we've invited you to be a part of for the fifth cohort. So municipalities, we've had counties, and we have a regional planning organization that's also been interested in this, but mostly municipalities that come together, work together, and peer learning. You're the same group that goes through the program. It lasts about a year. And we have almost a dozen meetings, so 11 to 12 meetings that are topical. Sometimes we have special opportunities for speakers, which why that's flexing, or if we need a little more time. The first meeting is in person. We do a kickoff, so we all get to meet each other. And the rest of it is subsequently online. And then it will be the main point person, or if it's, you've got your communications person might be the one to be on the topic about the website. So you may make assignments for that, but the rest of the meetings will be online. We do offer in-person trainings, and again, Cheryl will talk more about that, and then we do an in-person graduation, which is a lot of fun. We manage all of the documents through a shared file system, and there's everybody gets their own checklist, which Tim will go over, but when it comes to providing documentation as a shared file system, we also share resources that way. The driver for this is the EV Readiness team, which I am a part of, and the rest of the team will introduce themselves, including Martha Dooley, Tim Milburn, and Cheryl Scott. You'll hear a lot from Cheryl Scott, who's our main lead on communicating and organizing. We've also added guest speakers, so occasionally industry or an outside group will come to us and say, hey, we really like the program. Would your cohort members be interested in this resource? Things like that, or this is a new innovation. Would they like to learn about that? And occasionally there's opportunities for special events or occasions. So we have those that will be added in. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to Tim Milburn with Greenways to Go, who's our key consultant and one of the founders of the EV Readiness Program. Tim is going to go to a live demo of the checklist, right? Yep. And Tim, you're muted. And are you talking now, Tim?
I'm here. Sorry about that. I'm Tim Milburn. I'm owner of Greenways to Go and have been working with Edith and Cheryl and Martha now going on 6 years or 7 years. And we've been doing this basically to get communities where they are comfortable in what they're doing for their communities relative to EVs, EV charging and infrastructure, all the rules as Edith just introduced. And sort of the centerpiece is this checklist, which you're looking at now. And I have this at one level of minimization. There are 3 levels that this thing built on. One is the categories, which Edith just introduced. So commit to EV readiness and new construction, access, community engagement. So there's 11 of those. And then in each of those, each category, there are a number of these light blue cells that we call objectives. Some of them you can get points, some of them you don't. If there are sub categories of any, then that's where the points come. If this is the only one in the category, there will be points associated. So basically, all of these have these objectives. And then I will expand this here. So now you can see the white comes out and we call those actions. So you can, collapse, but the idea is that you will be more focusing on the actions, whether they're listed as light blue or the white ones. And as you can see, the brown cells in column C here are the bronze. Anything in column B is silver, D is gold, etc. And then we've got something called flex points, which basically is not given to a scoring towards this bronze, silver, or gold. But you have to have a certain number of flex points in order to achieve those levels of designation, which again Edith had introduced. So typically, as you're using this, you can do this filter, and basically you can just list the bronze. So when you're first getting started, this is what you want to focus in on, and maybe you want to go for silver. You can pick out all the silvers. And it allows you to see at the beginning what you might want to do. So I'm going to blow this up just a little bit. So there may be things on this list, and there's a good number of topics to pick. You end up to get bronze, you only need 16 out of how many are there now? 150 or something. At any rate, so you get to look at this and pick them and plan on it. And then you can achieve whatever designation you want. So you can clear the filters and see what you're up against. And the next step in the process is, so you go and let's just pick one for zoning here. So this is, we want to have clear rules on primary versus accessory use as part of bronze. And let's say that you did do that. What happens is you would submit a document that basically said, this is what we've established. You would come here and you would enter an X, and this would highlight green, and then Martha or someone else on the team would go through, and if you're compliant, she would put a V in here and verified, and then your points are scored, and it automatically tracks. And then to the right here, we have what's called the documentation verification tracking, which basically says, and you as a team would type in what you did. We have new zoning code section 502, or if you're struggling, you can put in something here. Then Martha would go through this and contact you and say, okay, we'll figure it out. And when so EVRCC is EV Readiness Cohort Community, that's you. So basically, what date did you send it in? And this again allows us to track when it's been submitted, and ideally then we have the EV Readiness team, which is our team. We review it and put a date in here, and then this is just a general communication, what's missing, when it was achieved, and once that happens, those points then, let me pick a couple other here. Let's just say you got here this, and it's been verified. Anyway, so then it goes down here, and at the very bottom, it's totaling this up. So how many events, and also there's a tracking dashboard, which is basically saying it's whatever you just scored. So those ones I picked, you got 15 points towards bronze points. So and as when you hit the target, which Edith mentioned, 70, 100, and 110, this will turn green and say you made it, yay, and then you have to do this 30 points on the extra points, the flex points rather. And when you get both, it'll say you've done it, and whatever, that's the time for the champagne. So it all kind of happens all by itself in terms of the scoring. You just have to do all the work to get all these categories figured out. Let's see here. Just to give you a sense, you only need, what I said is 30 points on flex. And this is basically showing, there's a lot of choices. So there's a lot of places where you get your extra points. And a lot of them are really easy. They're all done, and then they're not intensely easy. They're effective too, because we're picking things that help the community and your team as your staff help the community. So that's the whole idea. And this is just it's a very useful tool to help you get through all that. Let's see if there's anything else. No, I think that's kind of it. It's, when we get into the first kickoff meeting, we spend a lot more time on this, but I just want to give you a sense that this is a very powerful tool that helps us all communicate and get the job done. Thank you.
Hi, everyone. My name's Martha Dooley. I was previously a planner for the Village of Schaumburg for 28 years and came to the EV Ready program midway through the second cohort as the team member that helps the communities through the process and to achieve the points that are needed for the designation level that you decide to go for. Next slide, please. So as part of this, the caucus has arranged the topics that will be discussed in a manner so that we make sure we can help you get through the program in the allotted time. So the program will start in September. It will end on all your documentation will need to be turned in early May, about 9 months. And then after that, I take a little bit of time just to verify everybody's points, get everything ready, and then we schedule the graduation ceremony. So some of the actions take more time to complete than others. And so we've prioritized those to give you time to plan, to collaborate with your staff, and to get cooperation with other departments. So what we've noted from communities that have gone through the cohort is that collaboration with your different departments and different staff is a vital component of getting through the program efficiently. So the thing that takes the most time is looking at your zoning code. So we'll evaluate your zoning code as it relates to EV parking and other EV infrastructure and things like that. We're not going to evaluate everything in your zoning code, just the things that are related to electric vehicles. And then if needed, we'll help you to establish some regulations. And then we'll work with you to track that code amendment through your public hearing process. And I know, and because I was in it for 28 years, that can take 3 to 6 months to get through. So that's one of the reasons why we start the zoning process early. The next bit of the program that takes some time is the permitting. So what we want to do is establish a process for permitting that includes, first and foremost, to create a checklist that residents, contractors, and inspectors can take a look at, mostly and put this on your website, or a link to it on your website, so that if a resident is interested in installing EV chargers or a business, they can go on your website, get a quick list of what they would need to do, what the permit process is like, and so on. And then that helps you to alleviate having to answer those questions all the time. It also helps if someone calls the permitting department and then someone else calls the planning department, then you make sure that all the information is in one place and people are always getting consistent information. So that takes about 4 months because you are collaborating with different staff members and departments. The third thing here is a free municipal fleet assessment through ComEd. They'll work really closely with you. Tim's going to talk about this a little bit later in our program today, but it takes maybe 6 months. And so we'll learn more about that as we go on. But this is a great free tool for you to use as you look at electrifying your fleet sometime in the future. And then another component that's really important is safety training, and then also training for permitting staff to help them through the process and to understand all the codes that are required, that you're required to know. So for the fire personnel attending the training, they'll learn hands-on tasks as far as putting out fires and things like that. They'll also have a classroom component to that training. It's really great. It's free and highly recommended that you attend. So during the process, we'll establish interim milestones to keep all of you on track. So each meeting that we have, I'll say, oh, the homework for this is due on this date, so that so that you stay on track all the time. So here's kind of how it goes. September, we'll have our kickoff meeting, and then we'll start looking at zoning and new construction. Then November and in in November, we'll have the permitting inspection. We'll start with that. We'll also have some safety training, and then the municipal fleet stuff will start in December through May. And then we'll also be working on your web page. And a lot of the things in the previous categories, those will all relate to your web page. So that kind of, you'll be collecting that information throughout the entire process. Next slide, please. And Tim talked about submitting documentation for the actions that you achieve. So here's a nice example from Elgin. This is their documentation for CE-1, which is to create an electric vehicle landing page. So they created a Word document, put a web link to the landing page on the document, and then did a quick screenshot showing what the web page says. And then in your Dropbox folder, which is where you'll keep all of your documentation in your folder, you see here, it's grayed out where they've provided, where we're looking at CE-1, a web link to their landing page. And then it's important always to put the name of your community after it, so that we can, it's easy for us to share that information with other communities in the future, and then we know where it comes from. But at any rate, we'll be doing this. I can help you through all of this. I'm there as your extra person to get you through the process. Next slide, please. There we go. Tim, back to you.
Go. Next slide, please. So one of the, Martha's been talking about zoning being maybe the most challenging section because it involves a lot of people. Permitting is a close second. And we talked to a lot of different people along the chain, you know, whether they work for municipalities or they're actually out in the field or they're inspectors or permitting people anyways. And we kind of came up with this grouping of what we try to do. So the first thing we want to do is make sure the communication channels are clear. We want to make sure that we know who's involved and who needs what, basically. So when you look at permitting and inspection, which, you know, obviously they go together, we came up with these boxes are what we want to fulfill. There's more than one way to skin the cat, but basically, in these conversations, it's different for a single family versus multifamily and commercial. So that's the first split, because typically single family residential, you're putting in one EV charger, you're running one branch circuit, whatever. It's fairly straightforward. When you get into multifamily commercial, you might be into fast charging, you might have 10 or 20 or more units. There may be a lot of other things going on, structural and other electrical. So it has to be more involved, and the requirements for permitting have to be more involved. So that's the difference between the two groupings. And then with each group, we've decided that we start out with what we call a checklist, which is for permitting and inspection. Yeah, thank you. Which basically prepares the applicant, which could be a contractor or a resident, and it says this is what the municipality needs in order for you to move forward. It's a checklist. Once you have that checklist, and that basically it prepares you to know all the requirements of the permit application, which is the next step. You basically have done, if you filled out the checklist, you've done your homework. The application is just getting it done, whether it's a piece of paper or an online form. And then, and that's basically the permit submittal that you're all familiar with. And then the final step is after the EV charging system has been put in, there has to be an inspection, and that's an internal resource because the end customer is not involved in that, but somebody on staff has to go out and make sure that everything's been done to code. And that's basically, these are, from an electrical perspective, a lot of the communities we work with, they kind of have said, they want to just use their current electrical code. And one of the key elements of the EV Readiness Program is to identify what's new and different from a safety and risk perspective, especially in the codes. So we want to make sure that permitting processes and inspectors are accounting for that. Thanks. The next thing that's has been very, I think it's picked up some momentum. I think we're over 30, or ComEd has done maybe over 30 of these, and the majority have been municipalities through the EV Readiness Program. It's a fleet electrification assessment. So if you are a municipality and you're considering electrifying your fleet, maybe you've started it, maybe you've put in a charger, maybe you're at square one. What do you need to go through? This is basically, it's a technical, operational, and commercial evaluation, and also environmental. So those are sort of the pillars, and they go through basically how much money will you save by converting to electric vehicles, because it's typically 20 to 30% of the cost to drive a mile with an EV versus a diesel or a gasoline vehicle. But it's not as easy as that. So you have to look at how many miles you do, how do you get from A to B. Can you go back, please?
Trying to keep you moving, Tim, in the interest of time.
Oh, that's you're doing that on purpose.
Yes, I'm doing that on purpose. Yes, sorry.
Okay.
Yeah, because we have more to get through if you would.
Okay, well, I think I covered it.
Thank you.
Um,
Thanks. So then, yeah,
Go
I
ahead,
can,
Cheryl.
yeah, thanks. So, just one of the benefits that we have with the program is we offer first responder training on EV incidents that provides awareness training, which can help you earn the bronze points. And also you can earn gold points because we offer hands-on training. You can see in the top right picture that we've brought a few different EVs to the training. And that's because we've heard that the first responders want to see the various safety features and how they differ on the models. The bottom pictures are from a company called Junkyard Dogs because they take cars from junkyards. And that way firefighters can practice how they would put out an EV fire or how they would safely rescue someone from the vehicle if it were an EV. And then on the next slide, you can see that we also offer another benefit of joining the program, which is that we've partnered with the International Brotherhood of Electrical Workers, or IBEW, Local 134, to offer a free class on permitting and inspecting EV charging systems. The class is taught by instructors who are actually serving on some of the codes and standards committees, so they have the latest information about what's going to be changing with the codes, what you should look for in inspections, and the bottom line is that the training will help to ensure the safety of the EV charging stations that are installed in your community's residential and commercial areas. So another valuable service is that we provide many templates during the program. This template is to help you analyze your zoning code, and you can look to see if there's any barriers to EV chargers being installed. When we were developing the program, we heard from one EV charging company who said they went to the community, and the community said, you'll need to come back in 6 months because our code isn't up to date and we aren't ready. So with the program, we'll make sure that you're ready. We'll help you analyze your code with this template and help to make sure that everyone will be ready if someone walks in and they're looking for a permit for an EV charging station. The next slide shows another template that we offer. We provide template web page text so that your community can easily create a page on EV readiness to educate residents and businesses on the permitting process, the benefits of EVs, how to locate EV chargers in the community, any grants and incentives that are available, and more. And you can choose how much information to put on your website, but the more that you include, the more points that you'll earn from the EV readiness checklist. On the next slide, once you complete the program, and you earn EV Ready Bronze, Silver, or Gold, we'll hold a nice award ceremony, which is a lot of fun. And we usually try to hold them at different locations and have something interesting. So you can see some of them. The middle picture is Argonne National Lab in Lamont. We were able to tour Argonne. We also, the bottom right, we were at the Illinois Institute of Technology. We viewed the microgrid there. And most recently, we went to UL Solutions, which is formerly Underwriter Laboratories in Northbrook, and they do safety testing for EV chargers and other consumer products. You've probably seen the UL label on a product and not even realize that. And you can also see we have had pretty large award ceremonies that attracted Senator Durbin one year, Mayor Johnson of Chicago. And so, they're a lot of fun and just a great event. On the next slide, you might also get local press for your efforts to earn EV readiness, and we'll help with communications by providing a press release that you can use and you can tailor for your community. We also offer sample social media posts, professional photos, and other communications materials. On the next slide, here's just a map showing all the communities. You can see we've got small communities like the city of Polo's kind of out there in the middle, population of about 3,000. We've got large communities, Chicago, Rockford. So communities of all sizes are in the program. And the next slide shows you a list of those communities. You can see many of them have earned bronze, and that still is a great accomplishment because as you've heard from Martha and everyone, it involves months of updating your code, updating your permitting processes, making sure first responders can respond safely to EV incidents. And so it's a great accomplishment, regardless of if you are in bronze, silver, or gold. You can see there's a few that have leveled up, so that might be something you might want to earn bronze in this 5th cohort. Maybe you'll want to level up to silver or gold in the next cohort. The next slide. Here's just a few outcomes of the program. We've only listed a few, but there are even more grants that communities have earned after going through the program. So you can see River Forest earned 2/3 of the costs to install DC fast chargers. So they only had to pay for about 1/3 of that cost. Bensonville had about 420,000. Skokie had 45,000 in rebates to electrify its fleet. And Governor Pritzker attended a press conference for this in the village, which involved, ComEd handing over the large check to kind of celebrate the progress that they made. And then I think, Edith, on the next slide, I think we'll be turning this over to the communities now to hear about their experiences.
I will, but you didn't introduce yourself. You were so efficient with your time.
Okay, yes, I'm Cheryl Scott. I'm the Senior Sustainability Specialist at the Caucus. I've been working on the program since I started in 2019. I have a local government and communications background.
And as I said, our prime communicator. So thank you. Thank you to the EV Readiness team. That's an amazing team. We've built the program together and really, made it work for communities. So we're a good team, but it's all about the municipality. So we are very grateful for the communities that Rolling Meadows, Pingree Grove, and Woodridge, not only because they've went through the program, but they've agreed to spend some time here telling you about it. So with that, I will close out of slides and ask Rob Savage to say a few words.
Yeah, sure.
Say nice things, Rob.
I only say nice things about you, particularly this team here who've been really supportive and were just a really great resource to get through the program. It is certainly an undertaking. There were many staff hours involved. So I want to preface everything I say with the acknowledgement that, signing up to this it's a big project. We thought that it was really valuable for our community, and the payoff has been there certainly. So it was time well spent, and it allowed us to really engage with kind of our sustainability goals at large. So we in Rolling Meadows approved our first sustainability plan back in 2023. Our plan in particular is just very action oriented. We wanted to be able to have a very kind of programmatic approach and just ensure that we can really complete the plan. So not a whole lot of soft kind of nebulous tasks. It was all about do a program, install the thing, having kind of a binary approach to, making it completable. So with that, there was a lot of tasks to do with transportation, and really that involved fleet transition and supporting cleaner technologies on the roads. Rolling Meadows is landlocked. We're surrounded by kind of a lot of highways and a lot of kind of regional hubs. So we're kind of a bit of a pass-through city in some respects. And so we really were intent on trying to bolster our EV supply, I guess, or rather our EV charging kind of capacity, so that we could kind of support traffic moving through as cleanly as we could, and having kind of a regional approach to our city goals here. So in all of this, we wanted to have a really kind of unified approach. We knew that we wanted to embrace EV technology in town, but we knew that it was going to be both a policy discussion, it was going to be a permitting and inspections discussion, it was going to be a siting discussion. And so the Mayor's Caucus program really ties all of that together very, very well. And then we kind of lay it in those communications tasks and stuff on top of that. And, you can kind of have a very holistic approach in doing it that way. So we really valued the technical assistance from the program in just being able to kind of triage the tasks that we really needed to do and get the result that we got. So in terms of the benefits now, a year down the road, I think the biggest improvements have certainly been in the zoning code and the permitting inspections material. We now, we were already pretty quick with our permitting. I think 95% of our permits are processed in under 10 days, which I think is pretty strong. Our EV permits are usually day of or, within 2 days. So just having that really good, solid structure to our permitting and inspections work has just been, lightning fast approvals, very simplified, very streamlined. That said, there were also challenges in going through the program. It took a concerted effort. The workload, as I mentioned, was pretty significant. I think to get to gold, we were probably at the minimum 150 staff hours, I think, to get everything done. A lot of that was pretty front loaded with the zoning work. Quite a bit of research that goes into that. I won't lie. A good portion of that was trying to navigate Tim's spreadsheet. Bless you, Tim. The thing is very helpful once you can kind of learn to absorb it all, but there's quite a lot there, and we really tried to again triage through that spreadsheet and work out exactly what we needed and how to get there.
Rob, you can teach the next cohort then.
No thanks, all yours. We also kind of did some slightly risky things, I guess. We have over the past 5 years or so in Rolling Meadows, we have had some fairly, I would say, some would say crazy, some would say progressive kind of zoning policies, and we've been really kind of pushing on certain kind of sustainability topics in town. And so, part of this did take a little bit of political savvy or political courage to kind of go ahead and say, we're going to try and be a leader in this space. We're going to try and do something that's a little bit above what the state requires or what really most municipalities are going to require. And luckily for us, we have a plan commission, an environmental committee, and a council that are generally, pretty supportive to these kinds of things. So, my advice, as always, in planning is to bring those folks in for the conversation nice and early, let them set the scope for you and with you. And, if the bare minimum is what suits your community, then don't necessarily try and push beyond that. But, for us, we were able to establish regulations which, put a bit more burden on private property owners, particularly commercial property owners, to require EV chargers in new development. We also require EV chargers for new gas stations or amended special uses for gas stations as well. So those were pretty, I would say, occasionally pretty heated discussions with some of our commissioners and council members, but ultimately there was enough support there to go ahead and do those kinds of things. We really went for gold in this project, I think partially because we're competitive and we like to win. There wasn't really a medal at the end of it, but there was a nice plaque. But really we at the time felt that there was a good opportunity to have some leadership in this space and try and make good on our commitments in our sustainability plan. And I think it's paid off for us as a city, and the city's generally very proud of the progress that they've made. So I think with that, I'll pass it on. Hopefully that was short enough. Martha, was it short enough? I can keep going if you like. I could talk about this for a while. So
excellent, thank you, and just stay around for questions. If we could ask Manager Andy Ferrini and Hannah Temes Temes from Pingree Grove.
Yeah, yeah. So all right. Well, yeah, just Andy Ferrini, village manager, Pingree Grove. We are a smaller community, about 13,000, located just west of Elgin, in Kane County. We are fast growing though, and um, smaller municipal organization as well, about 35 full-time employees. We joined the program because my village president was interested in, she was interested in us better positioning ourselves to get future EV grant funding. And then from the staff perspective, we saw value in the program when it came to the technical expertise and technical assistance, especially as it relates to the building and zoning codes. And so we embarked upon the program. One thing I would definitely recommend for every organization manager that may be on the call is you need a point person to really shepherd it through, to handle it, to facilitate with the different departments. And in our case, our point person was Hannah Temes, our administrative intern. We'll all hand it off to in just a moment. But no, we were very pleased with the program. We got the bronze designation this year, and it's a lot, but it is manageable. And I'll let Hannah talk a bit about that.
Yeah. So with the program, especially with the bronze designation, as we went through before, it was really updating your zoning code and permitting. And I want to make clear that Pingree Grove, within the admin side, we have like about 5 people, including me as the intern. So I was really the one like shepherding through the like program, like going through the first pass through of writing the zoning code, writing all the memos associated with it, bringing it through planning and zoning, and handing it off to someone to do that, and then bringing it to the board. And I will like to say that like you don't have to like write your zoning code from scratch. Look at other municipalities and comparables within the area that went through the EV Readiness Program, and see what they have in their code and see if you can replicate it in yours. So our zoning code is a mixture of Hampshire's, which was in the first cohort, and Rolling Meadows, which was in the third cohort. And we kind of hodgepodged it into what would be best for Pingree Grove. And then also with permitting, we work with consultants for permitting. And so I had to work with not just internal people on permitting, but I had to work with our external consultants on how do they go through their permitting process for both commercial and residential EV chargers. I think the most challenging part of this was that this was the majority of my internship for a couple of months, where I just went in I was in 3 days a week, but those 3 days, half of the day I was focused on EV readiness. So Andy is very real in saying that you need a point person on this, and a person who is good at communicating with other departments and other stakeholders that you would be working with. And then the caucus was very helpful in allowing us to ask questions. Like, they're there for you. You just like don't blindly just go through it and hope for the best. They want you to succeed. They will help you succeed. So ask any question, even if it's a stupid question. They aren't going to make fun of you for asking a silly question. I know I asked many a silly question. And any advice for communities, I would just make sure that within the checklist, you tailor it to yourself, and make sure that like those like hitting the 16 bronze, but those flex points, you can choose and pick which ones best fit your community. So with the fleet assessment, that's like a silver goal. We didn't do one because we only have one hybrid in our fleet, and so it was kind of seen as like, well, do we have to do this? Do we not? So just what I'm trying to say is tailored to your community. Yeah.
Yeah, I would just say on that too. There's so many different flex points and goals. You will have the flexibility to tailor to what you want to focus on. For us, we were particularly interested in, well, and it is a fundamental thing, but the zoning and the code updates. And like I mentioned before, it's a very manageable program as long as you have someone committed to it. The caucus team, they're very helpful and they do a good job providing kind of guardrails to keep you on track. I mean, every time you meet, yeah, you have homework to do, and it keeps you on track. And so, no, it's been an excellent program. I would say, if there's smaller staffs out there, smaller teams, if it's something you're interested in, don't be intimidated by the workload as long as you understand that it's you do need somebody to be a point person on it. But I think that's it. You got anything else?
Yeah, we had absolutely nothing in our zoning code about electric vehicles or electric vehicle charging infrastructure. And so this was a very needed program, especially to keep up with the other communities in the area and the county that we're in, because Kane County was also a member of a previous cohort. So,
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for that perspective. Really appreciate it. And then on to Jake Sodaro from Woodridge.
Yeah, so just to reiterate what everybody else said, and I'll try to be quick, but like the cohort was extremely helpful in accomplishing what we wanted to do. I mean, in 2024, we first joined the Greenest Region Compact, and then by 2025, we were part of the EV cohort, and part of, getting the text amendment that we were looking to get. That was our main driver of all this, and then we figured it'd be nice to shoot for bronze, if not silver, as a part of the designation. Um, Really, I think to reiterate what's been said already, the zoning code was a big holdup. We had some staffing issues towards the end where, some people were in, some people were out, and it was kind of became a back burner part of the like responsibility of ours. It's something that we're still pursuing, but it's just as, people come and go, and there's only so many people, so many hours to dedicate to this. So I guess my advice would be start earlier than you think you could, just in case. You never know, especially with some of the stuff that takes longer to go through entitlements, something like the zoning code. Um, you know, Speaking of the zoning code, I want to once again thank Martha for attending a plan commission meeting that went to 11 o'clock at night in order to help us get that zoning code across the finish line. We really benefited from having somebody at that meeting to discuss electric vehicles from like an expert's point of view. I think another one of our big hangups was just there's some skepticism and lack of buy-in from elected officials, appointed officials, community staff, even just about, are electric vehicles the future? Why are we dedicating so much time and making a requirement for commercial properties to install EVs? And I think that was really a big thing, just making the case of why this is a necessary update, why we're going through this. If you don't believe that they're going to take over all cars, it's still a growing trend. And you as a community want to be adaptable and flexible in order to allow yourselves to like be well placed for the future. Trying to think of anything else. Just I mean, really the biggest thing is just start earlier than you think you need to on some stuff. At least start kicking around ideas as soon as possible to just make yourself set up for the future. That's all I got.
Thank you, Jake. Appreciate that. And we're happy to take questions now, either for the EV Ready community representatives or the team. Got one in the chat. Anybody have a live one? No, I think we've addressed the one in the chat about the action for, I think it's a good one. Martha, do you want to talk about the sticker discount?
Yeah, so one of the questions in the chat was, let's see, thinking outside the box, has any municipality offered vehicle sticker discounts for residents buying an electric vehicle? And we do have right off the top of our heads two examples. One was the Village of Park Forest, and one was Glenview. So, and both those earn points on the checklist. There's an action for those. So, yeah, definitely. And that's what we do throughout the process is we'll show you examples from other communities that, you know, might jog something in your head that says, oh, maybe we should do that, or maybe we can do that, you know. Also, I wanted to talk a little bit when Tim was showing the spreadsheet and you highlighted just the silver column. People would have to earn bronze plus all the silver in order to achieve a silver designation, not just the things in the silver column.
And I just want to address kind of the workload and the time frame. So that, you know, the workload, it's work. We've heard that from everybody here. But I want to point out, you know, that sort of the capacity that Pingree Grove had. And Hannah was at every meeting, stuck with it, got it done. And, you know, a tremendous help, I know, to Andy. Jake, so we have fun at the award ceremony, and we provide special recognition for somebody who's been a standout. So you get your plaque, but we do recognize because we're working together as a cohort. And then Martha or Cheryl makes the plaques. You want to talk about Jake's special recognition award? Because it's kind of charming in terms of your not only your accomplishment, but yeah.
Yeah, so he earned the last inning legend for kind of turning in a lot of getting things done at the last minute with, there were some staff issues with people being out of the office, but he was able to just kind of get it all done at the last minute to earn bronze for the fourth cohort award ceremony.
And then kind of another thing on timeline. So if you saw Martha's timeline, you know, and we aim for a spring finish in May, and then we have to order plaques and stuff. There's a little bit of wiggle room there, so that if we know your zoning, there's a deadline, and you say your zoning code or your zoning meeting is 2 weeks after the village board is going to approve the zoning changes, 2 weeks after the close of it, we kind of hold the window open for you. So we do support you in getting all the work done. And then if you can't, because of staffing changes or your village board isn't on board, you can come back around for a second time. So we didn't mention that, but we've had some communities, and we won't mention the names of some of the communities. It took, 3 tries to get through gold. Not Rolling Meadows, who gunned it at the end there and just said, we're close to gold and we're going to go for it. But even bronze, it's okay if it's, you can't finish in this cohort round, we'll get you back the second time. Or Glencoe's on the line, they earned bronze and they want to come back and go for silver. Same with City of Aurora. So we'll support you in that. It's a lot easier the second time through. But just wanted to talk about that in terms of time frame. And then, Terrence, you're asking a question about the meetings. They are 90 minutes in length. And then we do record them all. So if you can't make it to everyone, and again, we'll give you a couple of weeks notice. We're going to be talking about permitting. In 2 weeks, you may want to make sure that your permitting staff is there, or this is the week that we're going to talk about the communication. So make sure your communication staff is there, so that you can plan ahead. And you may find that you don't need to be at the meeting on first responder training. Somebody else will. So we try to distribute the workload. But again, we take attendance, and I think Hannah was at every in perfect attendance. So. Any other questions? Any other comments from the team or the EV Ready communities? Well, just with the last minute we have, I do want to talk about sort of the honor that goes with this, and the I'm not going to call it fame, but the EV Readiness Program was the first municipal recognition program for the EV preparedness in the country. And so we got going in the Chicago region really quickly. ComEd support, and you may also know that we have a congressional earmark from Senator Durbin to support the program, and we have that for another year and a half. So we've got a lot of robust support here, but the municipalities, I always say it's because we have the cohort approach and because our municipalities are amazing. But we were the first program to designate communities, and there's now a national program called Charging Smart, which you may have heard of, which we grew up together. We did some planning together, but the national program has 13 or 14 states that are cooperating. Cheryl, is that about right? Parallel timeline to ours, but they celebrated their 100th Charging Smart designee, and 45 of them are our EV ready communities. So our region is still the leader, and we're still extraordinarily proud of the leadership from these communities. The programs are also not completely aligned. The EV Readiness Program is a little bit harder. So in the case of Rolling Meadows and the 4 gold communities, there is no peer in the country. So, the leadership that we have in this region is really extraordinary. So, and then eventually just in terms of how those programs will work together, we will, and we've been talking about this for a while now, but we will find a way for reciprocal designation, but everybody that gets bronze in thanks, Cheryl. You want to talk it through? So yeah, it's an impressive map.
Okay, yeah, this was just illustrating what you had just mentioned, that this is the Charging Smart map, and you can see Illinois leads the nation in the Charging Smart, which is, they count our EV readiness designations as their designation. So pretty much just what Edith said, if you earn bronze, silver, or gold in our program, you'll pretty much earn the equivalent in their program. We just have to work out, will they send you a plaque from Charging Smart? We haven't worked out that detail with them yet.
Anything else? We are right at time, 2 minutes over. So I think with that, we can wrap. Cheryl, do you want to talk about the enrollment form and
Yes,
and
we do
closing?
have a brief enrollment form. I'll just put the link in the chat, and it's pretty simple.
Oh, I'm sorry, you had a slide for it. You have a QR code. Let me get to that.
Yeah, it's pretty simple. What you'll see is we do have one area that asks you to fill out a letter of commitment, and I can put the template in the chat. This is something that you would just have your mayor, manager, or whoever in your community needs to sign that letter. They would sign this template letter that I've put in the chat, and you would just attach that when you fill out the brief application. It mostly just asks for, name, email, nothing too complicated in the application.
And as far as going forward, when we exactly get the cohort together is when the cohort is sufficiently filled. We do recruitment because we want to make sure that we equitably serve communities in the region. So sometimes we'll do a little bit of tugging for communities that are on the fence about it. And then when we assemble the cohort, everything from there is done collaboratively. So there isn't a set date for the kickoff. That's going to be based on where the communities are. And then we try to place it, convenient for everyone. Like in this 4th cohort, we leaned northwest, and Des Plaines hosted the kickoff meeting. So we'll work that out with you as well as the regular meeting days. Once everybody's in the cohort, we will all, Cheryl will help facilitate decision making about when's it going to be a good day for everybody to attend for the balance of the cohort work together. And likewise with the graduation ceremony, we really try not to leave anybody behind. We want to make sure that everybody, location and date works for everyone, so you can all be there for the very fun award ceremony. And if it wasn't said already, there is no cost to participate in the program. That's pretty obvious, but the program is time limited in terms of the support that we have. So we are very excited to offer a couple of more cohorts and hope that you take advantage of it now. The program will eventually kind of reach every community that wants to participate, and the funding will go away. So we encourage you to think about it a little bit, but also take advantage of the resources while we know they're here. So thank you, everyone.
Hey,
Hope
yeah,
to see
thanks to the speakers as well.
Thank you.
Help share their experiences. And yeah, feel free to reach out to us, or I see the speakers have also added their emails to the chat.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And thanks again, Mayor's Caucus team. Again, you guys were incredibly helpful getting us through it. So the support was duly appreciated.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thanks for letting us brag about you.
Gotcha.